So yesterday's parasha was Parashat Beshalach. There's an absolutely epic storyline here, and I'm going to walk you through that first because it contains within it the secrets and insights that I'm going to get into after. The storyline is as follows. The Jews have just left Egypt after 210 years of slavery and bondage. They are technically a free people for the first time in centuries. They had also just witnessed the array of miracles in the 10 plagues that had happened in Egypt, activated by Moses and his brother, events that were extremely out of the ordinary, whose whole orchestration was by design to develop Bnei Israel's trust in God. So here are Bnei Israel in the desert, and they need to get to Israel. And we start to see this pattern of behavior unfold that persists not just throughout this parasha, but throughout the rest of the book of the Exodus. Bnei Israel will encounter a challenge in the desert and immediately freak the F out. So they are suddenly chased again by the Egyptians and by Pharaoh, or they encounter a moment where they can't find water and they can't find food. And instead of remembering the miracles that they saw and having pure and genuine faith in God that He'll help them again, they panic, they express fear, they express doubt, and they also express a desire to go back to Egypt, where they were abused and tortured. Even to the point where in moments they revise history and start to romanticize and fetishize Egypt, remembering it as a good place. So imagine like being with an abuser and suddenly only remembering the good things about them. So what we see is that the Jews had technically left Egypt and were technically no longer slaves, but mentally they were still in bondage, and their old stories, their doubts and their fears kept them in a state of mind that was still that of a slave. Definitely not free. So what's happening here? The Torah is offering us deep truths about the human condition. Our human brains, when not used consciously, are wired towards survival. And this mechanism or wiring towards survival clings to the familiar. It likes what it knows because what it knows is predictable. So this aspect of the brain, when we're not aware, can very much keep us in familiar situations and familiar relationships, work circumstances, friendships that feel comfortable because we know them, in spite of the fact that we can feel or sense that these relationships are holding us back and sometimes even harming us. The familiarity of that feels better than jumping into the unknown where the brain can't actually predict outcomes. So, what does God do to help the Jews get out of this, mindset of the past, to break free from their limited patterns of thinking that are keeping them wanting and clinging to the comfort zone of slavery? Does something very clever. So imagine Egypt is here and Israel is its neighbor, like today. The easiest way to get from Egypt to Israel is straight line, like that, which is what you would think is the rational path for Israel to embark on to get to where they want to go. But instead of taking them like this, God actually takes them in a roundabout path through the desert, around, and eventually, in a long time from now, brings them into Israel from the east side. If you were to just look at this literally, it would look like a mistake. It would look like a major delay. But if you look more deeply, you could see that this was done very much by design. God orchestrates this roundabout path and actually designs challenges, trials, and tribulations that the Jews have to face. And he does this so that the Jews start to build resilience, face their fear, and build deep trust and confidence in themselves and in God. So, this process, this long roundabout distance, I actually like to call it the space between. It's the space between where you are today, what you think you know, the situations you're in, the familiar circumstances you're in, and where you want to be. And to get from here to here is not a straight line. Uh, Often, to get from here to here, you as a human being have to refine your character. You have to go through internal change. You have to sometimes build actual skills, talents, in order to be able to be the person that's aligned with this higher state of desire, this higher state of being. I think this is sort of most quintessentially captured in the splitting of the sea. So, as it goes, Bnei Israel are facing the Red Sea. It's raging, and that's the only way forward. And behind them, Pharaoh and the Egyptians are chasing them, wanting to kill them. And they're I guess, in the face of reality, stuck. And initially they freak out. They think they're going to die. They're like, God, why the hell did you do this? Take us back to Egypt. But then something shifts. With Moses' guidance, they start to actually walk into the water before it splits. So this is like very literally facing their fear. They're walking into the raging water. And only once they start walking into the water does the sea split and the miracle manifest. So in this like very event, the Jews for the first time activate a miracle somewhat on their own initiative by walking in the direction of their fear and leaving their comfort zone. And this whole roundabout path is a series of events like that. It's not a delay, it's not a mistake, it's not exhausting. It's the process by which the Jews refine their character and become the people they need to be to align with true freedom. Damn, this is so epic and profound. How many times do you look back at your own life and see that things that felt very, very difficult were actually the very thing that led you to get to what you want? And for me, this whole idea is that as you move through life, if you pay close attention, if you actually observe the unfolding of events, you see how they're all working out in your favor. And at least for me, my goal is to get to a place where as the challenge is happening, I could already tell myself, like, yeah, this is challenging, but I know things are working out for me. Like, I know this is for my benefit. So that's Parashat Beshalach. You know, and in a way, I hope something about this little mini lesson sparks trust and hope that everything that's unfolding for us now in Israel, as harrowing as it is, as painful as it is to see, is somehow is behind the scenes doing something good for us as a people. That's what I'm telling myself. Hoping for good news this week. Bye.